The time being after 2 o'clock, just barely. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District for Tuesday, July 21, 2026. I'd ask if you kindly stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is our roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Vice President Mateo.
Here.
Director Keelhold. Director Longville.
Here.
Director Velasquez.
Present.
And President Harrison.
Present.
We have a quorum. The board is present.
Thank you, sir. And now's our time for public comment. Members of the public may address the board regarding any item within the subject matter or jurisdiction of the board. However, no action may be taken on off-agenda items except as authorized by law. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Do we have any indication of anyone who would like to speak?
Mr. President, I have received a total of 5 requests from the public to speak. To the public that's present online, if you wish to provide a public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized. Okay, Mr. President, I don't see nothing online. To the public that's present, if you have not filled out one of these and you wish to provide a public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized. Gentlemen, please move to the podium, identify yourselves. Who else had a public comment? All right, speaking on the item, Mr. Miguel, followed by Larry, followed by Lance, the other 2 gentlemen, and we'll finish with George Hansen.
All right, Miguel.
Well, good afternoon, esteemed board. I appreciate the opportunity to comment, and my comments are on the ad valorem item. I just wanted to stop by today and commend staff and the board for the very deep analysis. I've been in the basin for nearly 15 years. I don't recall a time when such analysis was put together. It's very much appreciated, especially the San Bernardino Municipal Water Department being the largest retailer that is supported and within Valley District's board or boundaries. So just want to thank you. And if I'm understanding correctly and reading the staff report, there is a push for a very bold choice today. And that is also very much appreciated for the same reason, being the largest retailer within the Valley District's boundary. It's something that will definitely help the community, my community that I represent. So again, I thank you so much for all the work you all do. We work very closely with your staff on a day-to-day basis, and the work you're doing here today is very much appreciated, and look forward to more work and look forward to a big decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. We appreciate the relationship with your organization, San Bernardino Water, and we look for a long, healthy relationship. Thank you for appearing today. Appreciate you.
Now we have Mr. Greg Young from West Valley.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, board members.
Good afternoon.
Greg Young, board member for West Valley Water District. I'm here on my own accord, not on behalf of my board, but I did want to just come because it is a very important discussion that you're all having, and I do want to just commend the hard work that all of you've done, I think, on this important topic, and especially as someone who really appreciates the longstanding partnership between our 2 agencies and all the planning and hard work that goes into really looking at our regional supplies, not only now, but for the next 20, 30 years. All of these come back to this very important topic that you're discussing today. So I just wanted to come and thank you for the hard work and encourage you to continue to think about not only what our current needs are, but what our future needs are, and that we make sure that we have the financial resources so that we can meet those future needs. So it's a very important decision. Hopefully, we always like it if it's lower. But at the same time, we also have to be responsible to make sure that you all have the resources to ensure that we have the resources for the future. So just want to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your input.
And now, sir, we have Mr. David Armstrong.
Dave Armstrong. That name is
Yes,
very
sir.
familiar. Welcome, Dave.
Good afternoon, board. My name is David Armstrong, General Manager of South Mesa Water Company, located in Yucaipa and Calimesa. South Mesa customers have supported Valley District's ad valorem tax for decades, helping fund the state water project and the regional infrastructure that protects groundwater reliability across the San Bernardino Valley, long before we ever had physical access to the supplies. Thanks to Valley District's leadership and our partnership with the San Gorgonio Pass Water Agency on the County Line Road recharge facility, South Mesa now has access to the state water project water our community has helped fund for so many years. This is a major milestone, and we are sincerely grateful. Maintaining the current ad valorem tax rate protects longtime contributors, ensures Valley District can meet its state water project obligations, and supports the recharge facilities that make imported water available to agencies like ours. Most significantly, it preserves the regional reliability that every agency, large and small, depends on. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you coming.
Now, Mr. Larry Smith from Pass Agency, sir, please step forward.
Thank you, board. Good afternoon. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be here in front of friends.
Welcome, Larry.
Appreciate that. I didn't really prepare anything because I kind of want to speak from my heart. A couple of weeks ago, I was on your meeting online, and the staff went through to you guys and presented your obligations, what you know you're going to have to spend money on. And we all have to do this every year. We just did it ourselves. And as soon as the state water board or state water contractor board lets us know what we're going to owe, we kind of build our case around that and set our ad valorem tax. The good news is I get the opportunity to not just speak for Larry Smith, but I presented this to my board and they said, please come speak as the board. So we're here as a board, I'm sole representative now, to support the actions that you will be taking forward. We were able to hold the line, and whatever decision you guys make here, you know you've got support from San Gorgonio Pass Water Agency, because our relationship and our partnership gives us the confidence, the opportunity, and the ability to move what we have to move forward. So appreciate the efforts. Probably the clearest understanding I've had in the last 6 years about obligations and how to fund those things came from the presentation a couple of weeks ago, and I was moved by that to the point I needed to tell my board that this is important, that we stand with our partners, the Over Watershed, and say, we can do this together. It's a big task we all have, but I respect the actions and the activities of this board, and we're here to support you guys. Thank you much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate the partnership. You do a lot with your organization, and it is a welcome relationship.
Sir, next we have Lance Eckhart, the GM from Pass Agency. Sir, please step forward.
Thank you very much. It's good to be what I consider our sister agency's boardroom next door. We just passed our ad valorem. We got to do it every year. And just wanted to share a couple of things that we discussed just a couple of weeks ago. We've held the line for our tax rate fairly steady for the last 25 years. Although we're using reserves between now and 2035 to pay down some blue payments on the EBX, also pay off the State Water Project bonds, which a lot of them go away in 2035. And we also have a couple of generational opportunities coming online with sites, which is becoming more real every day, and then Delta Conveyance. We don't have the enviable position of Valley District, who could pay for some of these projects or portions of them cash, saving the taxpayers potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in the future. But we are still very prudently looking forward and holding the line on our taxes without raising them and still participating in these generational opportunities that we cannot lose this chance moving forward. So the next few years for all the state water contractors, and I think especially us at the end of the line is very, very important that we have the fiscal fortitude to make sure we can fully participate in these opportunities. I also want to mention that we have discussions of can we use our reserves for other things other than State Water Project for our ad valorem or restricted funds. And generally, that's a conversation that we just that we say no as our understanding, and that would get us talking to a grand jury. We don't want to have that conversation. So, we pass our ad valorem and our restricted funds and use those for State Water Project projects, and we support the fine work that the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District has done in projection and planning and saving over the last few years. We cannot wait to participate with you in these projects like sites, continue on the East Branch and the Delta Conveyance Project. And we think you're doing a fine job, and hold fast.
Thank you very much, Larry. Lance. We appreciate the relationship with your organization.
Sir, we also have Mr. George Hansen, the GM for Bear Valley Mutual Water Company. Sir, please step forward.
Welcome, George.
Good afternoon, esteemed board. George Hansen, General Manager of Bear Valley Mutual Water Company. I would just like to give you the perspective from our agency here. When the Santa Ana River or Mill Creek don't provide enough water for us, we lean on Valley District like we are right now today. And you guys are delivering. I look forward to that continued relationship, and I believe that I was also at the workshop last week. I think the presentation and the background material was commendable and very detailed, and I think really lays out the information that you all need to make an informed decision. I appreciate the partnership. I appreciate being able to call on water, state water when we need it, and to pay what we pay. And we would support a decision that would keep things right along those lines. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. And we appreciate the relationship.
Mr. President, that concludes the public comments.
All right. Are there any other, either online or in the room, any other individuals?
Negative, sir.
Okay. All right, then moving ahead on our agenda, item 2.1 and 2 and 3 is our consent calendar. What is your pleasure?
Move consent. Second.
We have a motion and second. Mr. Clerk?
Director Keold?
Yes.
Director Velasquez?
Yes.
Director Longville?
Yes.
Vice President Boteo?
Yes.
And President Harrison?
Yes,
The motion carries. The consent calendar is approved.
thank you. Next, we move into our discussion item 3.1. And this item is the consider adopting the fiscal year 2026-27 State Water Contract Fund budget and setting the ad valorem property tax rate for fiscal year 2026 and 2027. And this will be brought to us by our executive officer, our chief executive officer and general manager, Heather Dyer.
Thank you, President Harrison and members of the board. I'm happy here today to conclude a two-part presentation that we began last week in our July 14th workshop. I will not be going over the thousands of pages of detailed information that was included in your packet and the links. That is supporting information to the economic analysis that was provided by ERA Economics, which was attached as a part of the agenda packet. But I will be giving a summary of some of the information that we went over last week, just because I think it's important to reiterate the importance of some of these factors that the board will use to consider the ad valorem property tax today, and add some of the key information from that economic analysis to aid you in your policy decision. So to start it off, next slide, please, Tony. Okay, a brief recap of July 14th workshop presentation. So in short, the State Water Project is operated by the Department of Water Resource, but it is in partnership with the 29 state water contractors who entered into agreements in the 60s to be able to receive, manage, treat, and deliver the supplemental water supply from the State Water Project as it is available. The system is financed by these 29 public water agencies, which are called the contractors, and we pay all of the capital and maintenance costs of the infrastructure. As a reminder, this is about 700 miles of aqueducts. I think there's something like 29 different lift stations, many different components, 26 storage facilities, et cetera. And so, of course, this is a very large and complicated system that takes many people and many years to be able to manage and pay for. Last week, the staff laid out the current and projected cost obligations under the state water contract, and we ask you to use those in your consideration of setting the 26-27 property tax rate. Like a retail water system, which most people are familiar with, many of the costs, in fact, I would say most of the costs are fixed, meaning that we are paying for the infrastructure, whether water is available in any given year or not. The way the State Water Project works is it relies on water falling in the High Sierra in Northern California, going through Lake Oroville, being delivered downstream through the Sacramento River Delta, going into San Luis Reservoir, then into the aqueduct, and coming all the way down here, as Lance put it, to the end of the line, which is the terminus is out in the Calamasa area within the Pass Agency service area. And so that, of course, is a tremendous amount of fixed infrastructure costs that we receive a bill from every year based on our share from the Department of Water Resources. Our allocation is 102,600 acre feet. Based on what is available, we get a percentage of that water allocation in most years. Also, as a reminder, this board was formed in 1954 in order to provide that supplemental water supply, and the board was formed by the voters to represent the interests of the taxpayers. Interesting fact that Adekunle dug up for us is in the 50s, when we were founded, the population within our service area was around 140,000 people. Now we're well over 700,000 people within the 325 square miles. And as you look around you, when you drive into our service area, you can see that the landscape has changed in very significant ways, going from primarily an agriculture grove landscape to basically an urban area. As we work our way east, we are the largest growing area within California and even the nation, I've heard. In 1960, we signed the state water contract, which basically obligated us to be part of this system that was being built, again, at that time called the Feather River Project, then became the State Water Project. And the voters approved the Burns-Porter Act and authorized tax payments in order to pay for that infrastructure that we knew that we needed. So for today, what the board is going to consider is adopting the proposed fiscal year 26 to 27 state water contract fund budget, estimated to authorize up to $100.3 million in expenditures from the restricted state water project fund. The board will also consider determining the property tax rate and adopting a rate via resolution, attachment 2 in the board packet, for that new rate. The resolution is due to the County of San Bernardino by July 24th, later this week, and to the County of Riverside by August 3rd. So we look forward to the board making the decision and directing staff to fill out that resolution and submit it to the counties as necessary to meet that deadline. Here is a stacked bar chart that I presented last week with an estimated future state water project and state water contractor fund expenditures. You can see that there is a significant increase in the years 30, 31, 32, even 33. This is because we are having a lot of infrastructure investments that will be funded, specifically including Sites Reservoir, which we believe will begin construction in approximately 27, 28. Once again, these are estimates. One of the things that is hard to determine in this calculus is that we do not have control over many factors within this process. In fact, we cannot control the rate or the speed of progress for Sites Reservoir, Delta Conveyance, the subsidence issues that need to be fixed on the existing infrastructure. And so we estimate every year how much we think we will actually need to cover those expenses and approximately when those will be spent. So here's a table summarizing our estimated state water contract costs for 26-27 and fiscal year 27-28. This is for the amounts that we believe will be on the statement of charges. There is some additional money included in the budget, which I will show in an upcoming slide, that it will be used for turnouts and other facilities necessary to receive, treat, manage, and deliver the water here once we receive it from DWR. So in summary, we have approximately $226 to $220 million worth of costs in the next couple of years, which is one of the factors that we have been considering and asking the board to use in their decision regarding the property tax. This presentation today and the information included in your board packet is reflective of the new reserve policy that was adopted by the board on July 7th. Which established the range, a maximum and minimum targets for our reserve funds. It is reflecting the attempt to align the funds that we do have with the expected costs. Again, there are many, many factors that we cannot control with those expected costs, but we do have a 5-year and even a 10-year capital investment program document that we received from the Department of Water Resources, which does talk extensively about the different activities that they are going to undertake to either enhance or restore the function of the existing infrastructure or to expand and improve that infrastructure going forward. Again, it's a 5-year and a 10-year trajectory. And so we have tried to understand to the best of our ability what the next 2 years looks like looking at that. The reserve policy also looks at what is the best use of our existing reserves in combination with the property tax that the board sets every year and tries to address the need to prepare and be able to adapt and manage for catastrophic high impact events that, of course, no one can predict at any given time, but we definitely can foresee in the future. 2027 reserve policy, just for a little more detail on there. This is specifically for the State Water Contract Fund. We are obligated to have a minimum of 1 year state water contract statement of charges, which again can be anywhere from around 70 million to up to about 90 million in any given year. The reserve target is actually 2 years of those state water contract costs, as we learned during the economic downturn of 2008 to 2012-13. It takes a while for assessed values to recover from some sort of economic impact, such as we saw before. I think it took us about 4 years to recover and get back to the place we had been in terms of revenue following that major nationwide economic event. And so we have put the reserve target at 2 years of that state water contract costs. We have included a section of the reserve policy for state water contract catastrophic risk and emergency reserve, the minimum being 1 year of cost to purchase replacement water supplies to meet the retail customer water needs. The reserve target is really 2 years worth of water. As I spoke about last time, if there were a catastrophic failure of levees due to earthquake or some other significant event, it could take the Department of Water Resources and other state agencies approximately 2 years to rebuild those levees and be able to deliver water through the system. So we have set aside approximately 2 years worth of replacement water costs so that we could go out and try to purchase that water if it is available. We have also increased the restricted capital reserve project. We have included the capital reserve for infrastructure that is either in progress and in planning, again, using that 5-year, 10-year CIP projections from DWR, so that we will be prepared to make those investments when it is possible and when they say that we are ready to go. The new reserve policy really looks at how we will be able to pay for the replacement and the repair of the existing billions of dollars worth of infrastructure that we have, including subsidence, including hydropower, FERC relicensing, and also how can we best cover the costs of the new upcoming improvements that we would be doing to the system. We are looking at how to align the expected costs by establishing these targets and realizing that those timelines do shift related to many factors beyond the board's control. We are also trying to make sure that when possible, we do use some mechanism of cash financing, how that was directed by past boards. Again, in 2011 and 2017, it was stated by past boards that in order to reduce interest costs to our taxpayers, that is a method that the board would like us to explore. The economic analysis done by ERA does assume 50% cash cost share with potentially some financing for Sites Reservoir. And the reasons behind this are, one, to reduce interest costs. We've estimated we can save about $350 million worth of interest costs if we do cash finance at least a portion of these two projects, Sites Reservoir and DCP. And then also very important to protect our AAA credit rating, because when you do have to go out and borrow money, it can make a big difference in what kind of interest rate you are able to get. And so that's really what this reserve policy is built around. And we have tailored these recommendations or this information to present to you today around that new reserve policy. This is a little bit of information on our property tax rate history, as was requested by Director Keelhold. This is a bar chart that we made. We went all the way back to 1955, 56 in our resolutions, how they set that property tax. So you can see in blue is up to 1978 with Prop 13 being passed. So this was, at that time, it was just one general district tax rate, and it went nearly up to $1 per $100 of assessed value. In 1978, that transitions to the green on this bar chart. And the high points that you see, and I would say the mid 70s to late 70s, even early 80s, from our investigative work, we have determined that this high rate of tax was really used because we had a $25 million bond used to build a piece of infrastructure that Cindy and I believe was later named the Foothill Pipeline, which was then incorporated into the delivery mechanism for the state water projects. So in the early 80s, we believe they were paying down that debt. And then you can see starting in about 1982, we were down at the 20 cents per $100 assessed value level. And then we have been around that rate since then. Here is a shorter version, but you can see a little bit more detail in those changes. So in 1980, we were just over about 20 cents per $100. And we have gone down to 2026, which was at 11. You can see that the rate has gone up and down, and this was in response to the economic conditions or our obligations to the State Water Project and our contract, the different things. There were some years in there where they were building the East Branch extension. And so this rate has really gone up and down based on the decisions of the board over the years. As I will show in a later slide, we have reduced this rate in 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024. And then we have spent the last year to year and a half completing the very extensive, comprehensive economic scenario and analysis that was included in your board packet, which leads us to today. This is a bar chart of assessed values over time, starting in 2007, 2008. You can see that dip on this bar chart following 2008 when we had the housing crisis. And you can see that the assessed values did slowly build back up over time, but it did take several years for the housing market to respond. Another point to consider is that since around 2012, 2013, that the assessed value of the properties within our service area has approximately doubled. And this is one of the reasons that it is possible for the San Bernardino Valley Board to consider lowering the property tax, because over time, the assessed value has increased and that has remained stably increasing, I guess you could say. And that means that we can generate the revenue off of a lower tax, but an increased assessed value overall. This is a chart I showed last week, but I do believe that it is so important that it bears repeating of an explanation, just in case, it's very easy to be confused or to not fully understand the situation that San Bernardino Valley was in regarding the redevelopment agencies. So again, 2005 through 2009, we were in the 16 to 16 and a half cents per $100 assessed value range for our property tax. However, we were bringing in revenues, in the $50 million range there in 2009. Over time, the amount of revenue that we have received has steadily increased, even though our property tax has gone down. So 2 reasons for that. One is the assessed value. Like I said, we can have a lower tax rate, but still generate the similar revenues because of the assessed value increase. But very importantly, the entire economic landscape shifted for this agency in about 2013 with the dissolution of the redevelopment agencies. As I stated again last week, what was happening before 2013 is that the board would set the property tax at 16 and a half cents per $100. However, a large portion, you can tell just by the difference, is a large portion of that property tax would be diverted to the redevelopment agencies, who would then build projects that they had. So with the dissolution of the redevelopment agencies in 2013, we realized that it was likely we were going to receive some of that tax revenue back to the district. In 2016, SB 107 allowed it to really the tax revenue to go back to the original taxing authorities, of which we are one. And so we were feeling pretty good that we were going to have more financial resources coming this way. However, we did still have the threat of litigation, and actual quite extensive litigation drawn out over several years. It wasn't until around 2019 that litigation was concluded, and we realized that yes, indeed, all of the tax revenue generated from this board and the property tax that we said would eventually come back to us. Now, there is one caveat in that it still goes through the countywide oversight board, so there is still some revenue that gets diverted to the county. They use that to pay off the debts of the redevelopment agencies, and we get what is called pass-through payments. So Cindy sits on that board. We receive that money. As you can see, that's in the blue on this bar chart, and it has been substantial over time, which is what I would consider a major contributing factor to our substantial reserves, is that we have year over year gotten more revenue than we had anticipated initially from the redevelopment pass-through payments. So you can see in 2018, the board started recognizing that this was a likely outcome. You can see our actual ad valorem property taxes at that time were generating not quite $60 million. And so the board did recognize the value of those pass-through payments and started steadily and in a measured way lowering the property tax over time, which is how we got to last year, 25-26, where we landed at 11 cents per $100. So included in your packet were several scenarios. I'm just going to go over a few of them that were in the ERA economics technical memo. This is a table including various tax rates for your consideration, ranging from 8 cents per $100 of assessed value down to 4, along with the estimated property tax revenue that each of those rates would generate. and the effect that it would have on our existing reserves. So these expenditures, once again, are used to cover the state water contract obligations that we committed to when we signed that contract in 1960, and they cannot be used for any other reasons other than things related to that state water contract and those obligations. So at 8 cents and 7 cents, these two generate enough revenue that we estimate, again, we don't know exactly what our expenditures will be in the coming year, but we do believe that it is likely with our estimated interest earnings and other payments that it would not draw down our reserves. And if you'll remember, one thing in the reserve policy was that the board wanted to basically limit the growth and even start to draw down those reserves on these costs. So the two top options, 8 and 7, do not meet that goal. 6, 5, and 4 all do. As we said, we project that it would begin to draw down the reserves. So I'll start at 7 cents just because I feel like this is a good image of what the reserves look like over time. As I said last week, $700 million seems like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. However, we also have approximately $1.6 billion worth of expenses that is within the foreseeable horizon. This is what would happen as we draw down our reserves at 7 cents per $100 of assessed value, and what the reserve levels would be in perspective with the maximum and minimum targets that were set in the reserve policy. So as I said before, 7 doesn't draw down the reserves immediately. We do believe we will have significant interest income, and we just can't project what exact expenses that we will have next year. And so we believe that 7 cents will not sufficiently bring down the reserves as directed in the reserve policy. So we go to 6, and you can see it's just slightly down in 28. It would be approximately a $1.8 million draw off of the reserves if we have all of those expenditures that I talked about earlier. But I do want to call attention to approximately in 2031, 2032, we are within those two target areas. 2033, we actually go below the minimum target, and that is because we do believe there will be substantial construction costs related to Sites Reservoir in those early 30s years. It seems weird to say early 30s, but that is true. So this is the bar chart with the drawdown and the targets at 6 cents per $100. At 5 cents per $100, we do draw down, let me double check my number here, approximately $13 million off of reserves. So we are steadily decreasing those reserves. In 2031, we're about halfway between minimum and maximum target. In 2032, we're hitting the minimum. And it's important to point out that if the board does decide on either 5 or 4 cents per $100, in probably within the next 5 years, the board will have to consider raising the property tax in order to get those reserve levels back up above the minimum target. So this is 5 cents per $100. And here's a bar chart of 4 cents per $100. And you can see there's a steep decline between 29 and 2032. Again, because we are in construction of Sites Reservoirs in those years. We are also, it's not shown on here because Delta Conveyance is on a slightly delayed timeline. But as I stated last year, there's this, 2 curve figure that I show sometimes where basically we are ramping up on construction costs for Sites Reservoir, then that starts declining. And at the same time, Delta Conveyance costs are starting to come online. And so in the 2035, it's not shown in here, but in the 2034, 35 time range is when we believe we will start construction on Delta Conveyance. And so we will have to, at that time, the board will have to consider how to fund that project and where the property tax should be. But I wanted to make sure and show these bar charts because I think it does convey in a way that's hard to imagine just the effect of these tremendous costs of construction. There's also subsidence repairs, hydroelectric FERC relicensing, along with our ongoing maintenance requirements that are included in the CIP portfolio from DWR. So that's how we get down to approximately 2031. We're reaching or getting close to the minimum target levels. And at that point, the board would definitely need to be considering what their next move was related to the property tax. So the next steps are really for the board to consider a few things. The first off being that we have a budget that we need to adopt for our state water contract fund. We like to do 2 budgets per year. We just finished the general fund last month, and here is the restricted fund budget. These are our estimated costs. Again, there's about 84 million, I believe it was, on the statement of charges. And then we have some additional infrastructure and costs that need to be covered. That would bring us up to a total estimated state water contract expenditure of around $100 million. We do estimate that we'll have about $33 million in non-tax revenue. That is actually coming in from interest earnings. We have PFM come and report back to the board on our portfolio. It does quite well, and every dollar that we generate in interest in this fund is put right back into this fund. So we estimate we'll make about $25 million. We also have some DWR debt service reserves, bond cover return. So if you want more details on that, Cindy is definitely your expert, but we have estimated about $33 million additional dollars in non-tax revenue. So based on your decisions today related to the property tax, we would fill in this additional revenue. And like I stated before, any of the funds above that amount, we would draw down from the reserves to cover those additional expenses. So the next steps for the board is to review and consider adoption of the state water contract budget with a not to exceed amount of $100,335,217. To adopt the property tax rate that the board decides between that 4 cents per $100 to 6 cents per $100, which are the 3 rates that will draw from reserves or any other tax rate that you deem appropriate, and direct staff. And then once that is adopted, staff will use this information to finalize the budget and fill in the blank spots on the resolution. We then turn around and give that to the counties, and then they put that on the property tax bill, which is rapidly coming up. So with that, this is just a final summary put in a slightly different form related to the tax rates for your consideration. I'll just choose 5 on here. So if you were to choose 5 cents per $100, that generates approximately $54 million in revenue. We would apply that $33 million in non-tax revenue from interest and the bond cover, which brings us to $87.7 million. And then we would draw the net amount from cash reserves in $12.7 million. So that's just one example at 5 cents, but you can see all the other outcomes for those other levels. And with that, the staff recommendation is that the Board of Directors consider adopting the fiscal year 26-27 State Water Contract Fund budget in the amount to exceed $100,335,217 in expenditures, and to determine an ad valorem property tax rate for this fiscal year, and thus adopt resolution number 1205, establishing that selected rate as directed by the board. Thank you. I will be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your presentation, and it's very clear about what we need to do and why we need to do it. I'll turn it over to, I think we should obviously take this in two segments, and I will turn it over to the board for any questions or comments.
Mr. Chair, I do need to remind the board, there's a hand that's raised online if you wish to recognize them. but no public comment was submitted prior to the public comment portion.
I think that's fine. I see it's Mr. Zoba,
Yes, sir.
Ucaipa Valley Municipal Water District. Please, Joe, what do you have to say?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Milford. You know, after hearing all of the public comments, I apologize for not including it in that section. I didn't want it to go unsaid that Ucaipa Valley does not appreciate San Bernardino Valley. We really enjoy your staff. We work really, really well together. So I want to pass that on to the board first and foremost. Secondly, just going through the presentation, I think you want to, I think there's a couple of things that you just want to be mindful of. Let me just put it that way. One is that I think it's really important to look at the ending balance from last year. Did you over collect or under collect property taxes? If you under collected, that gives you the chance to move those under collections forward into this year. If you over collected, the inverse is true. So I think it's good to not start at a zero balance when you start this fiscal year looking at this equation, but take into what happened last year. I think that's a missing element. Secondly, I think the assessed valuation, I love the report that was done by ERA. I think they did an amazing job. I noticed that they assumed an assessed valuation increase year over year at 3%. Just, you know, for the most part, the recent past, it's been 6 to 14%. So I think as you look at those reserve balances drop, I think you have a lot more cushion there based on that assumption being 3%. And then lastly, and this is more for just information, I've noticed last year when you set your rate, it was based on a $54 billion assessed valuation, which you actually showed in one of the charts. Looking at the ERA report, they're using an assessed valuation of twice that, $110 billion. And I want to make sure that you're aware of that number. Maybe there's a simple explanation between that. We know the assessed valuation didn't increase by that much, but I want to make sure there's not an error or a miscalculation in the numbers that are being presented. So thank you for taking my comment. Thank you for all you do. Keep up the good work. And I appreciate the dialogue. Thank you.
I appreciate your input. Thank you, Joe. Do you have any comments on that, Heather?
I can't speak off the top of my head to last year's information, but I can give an update that yesterday we received the assessed values, which were 3.7%. So 0.7 higher than our assumption, which is
It 0.7 does not create a huge difference in the property tax that's being generated on. It's within $200,000 of what we estimated.
Okay,
So we are very close in the assessed values for this fiscal year,
so it's 3.7.
3.7.
All right. Do you want to comment on any other items that Mr. Zober brought up?
no, I can't speak to last year's information off the top of my head. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Susan?
Well, to get the ball rolling, I'll go first. My preference would be that we consider a 6% rate. Begins to draw it definitely, you know, if expenditures are as estimated, we'll begin to draw down. And if expenses are not as estimated because they're further delayed, we would be able then to consider lowering it even more. I think it's important as we do this, and it's as you say, it's historic to be able to consider something close to a 50% reduction. But as we do this, that we think about the fact that we don't want to have to begin increasing it in just a few years. That's why I prefer 6. That's my preference, is 6.
Okay.
And again, I also applaud the analysis by ERA. It was the best investment we've made in a long time.
All right. Thank you.
To the chair.
All right. Gil?
Thank you. I just have, Mr. President, did you say you wanted to separate these two?
I'd like to.
Yeah,
I think we should.
Could we deal with the first part first, and then we can have this discussion about?
That's great. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments on the first part, on the budget? None? All right, then what is your pleasure on the fiscal year state water contract fund budget?
Move approval.
All right, we have a motion and approval. Any other comments? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, we have a motion of approval, or first and a second.
Roll call. Director Killhold,
Yes.
Director Velasquez,
Yes.
Director Longville, Vice President Bothell,
Yes.
and President Harrison.
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you. All right, now let's move on to the discussion of our AV tax rate.
Okay, I'll continue my
Thank you.
comments. Thank you, sir. Again, I want to piggyback on the comments that have been made by my colleague here on my left. This has been an eye-opening experience and a journey where we are. We're ending up today. We've received a lot of information and we've had a lot of robust discussion. Excuse me. But I just want to caution my board and just one last time that at the end of the day we can keep this ad valorem tax at what it is. That's the purview of the board because there are a lot of unknowns. We don't know if, for example, with sites, we haven't even really gotten into land acquisition. We don't know if it's how many more millions or billions of dollars it's going to cost for sites. So there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of things that we have to plan for. But I appreciate the work that has been done. And, I'm open to whatever we decide here today. And I think it's going to be something that we can always revisit in another year. Not 5 years, but in another year. So if we need to pivot, we need to make some adjustments, we can do that. And that's what helps me to make a sound decision today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good board.
Jose?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would like to thank staff for their efforts. Heather, Cindy, your team, for really working with ERA and making this, I think, the most complex and not complex, but concise reporting and clarity to this process. As a newer board member last year, we went through this process and I know there was the conversations, but I think now really having the data, really having the figures in front of us. I wasn't here at the board meeting with the reserve policy, but I was in favor of it as well. And we got to keep in mind that the reserve policy target levels move. They're not stagnant. So as we get the statement of charges, those levels will increase or decrease, however that is. So that's important. I think on the staff report, having the, the area from 4 to 6 that meets the objective goals, that's great in the staff report. I really like that. The other thing is I want to keep in mind that I did some research. The average homeowner lives in their house 10 to 12 years before they move. So I want to make sure that we do have a balance in who's paying for the infrastructure or the benefit that they receive. So that's where I'm looking at from that. And I want to be equitable to every ratepayer in our district, not just one side. So that's my comments.
Okay, thank you. Paul, do you have any comments?
Of course I do. I would like to thank staff and consultants for all their hard work. We've been receiving reports for a couple of months now. We received much more information in the last 60 days than any year that I've been on the board. So I appreciate that hard work and I appreciate the explanation we've been given. As Jose referred to, our information is much more comprehensive than it has been in the past, where typically we've dealt with the same subjects, but commonly one or two at a time. it's a different picture when you see them all together. So I really appreciate the comprehensive view. Also, as was mentioned, there's factors outside of our control. And in fact, the reality is almost all of them are. The only one that's in our control is the ad valorem rate. The assessed valuation is out of our control. The successor agency pass-through is out of our control. The costs of other people's projects and our share is out of our control. So there is only one thing that we have control of, and that is the AV rate. And it's great to see the historic data. As I look at the historic data, one of the things that comes through to me is that it doesn't appear to have been reviewed very regularly. Things seem to have been set in place and just kind of let run until it hits a wall and then redirected. So I think it's important that we take this new data set, this new comprehensive view, and we review it annually. As was mentioned also, the ad valorem rate is established every year. So it doesn't need to get set at one place and then sit there for 20 years. I also feel that there are so many things that are out of our control, but we still have to make an action. We still have to take some kind of an action. We know that as we get out in time, our forecasting gets worse and worse and worse. So there's really little to be gained by worst case analysis. I think having a view of the next, say, 5 years is probably a reasonable thing to do as a planning horizon. And that's 5-year span with annual review of that 5-year span. Also, I think because of the windfall benefits to this district, the increase in the assessed valuations, the increase in the repayments from the redevelopment agencies, we don't need this revenue from AV the way we used to. So I think it makes a lot of sense that when the reserve is sufficient and healthy, the ad valorem rate can decrease. As Director Longville mentioned, I too would not want to change it just to have to change it again in 5 years. So I would also support the 6 cents per $100. And those are my comments.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. President, I
Yes.
forgot to add, I don't know if this will matter to you, but you don't have to do it in one whole penny increments. I forgot to tell you that part. So you can do it
Okay.
in half or quarter cent increments. So
Okay.
thank you.
We've done it in half increments.
That's true. All right. I'd like to make a few comments. First of all, I would like to thank both our legal counsel from Sacramento and ERA from Sacramento. Appreciate you coming here and being here in person today, because you've given us a lot of information and you've done a lot of work on our behalf, as well as Heather and Cindy and our entire team. There's a whole lot of effort that has gone into these pages and pages and pages of analysis and graphs and statistics that we have received. Definitely more than all the last 8 years put together, in my opinion. And it's very much appreciated. I also appreciate the support that we've received from our sister agencies that has been evidenced here today. And I appreciate the comments made by Mr. Zoba. I think the 3% situation is taken care of. And I think that as we go ahead, we will continue to try our best to work with, and I think we've really made a huge effort in the past work with our fellow agencies that are represented here today and that are represented online, as we see the number of people that are on the or on that Zoom connection today. Sorry, Joe. As to the rate, I really feel that we should. First of all, I have no problem with adjusting the rate in the future, either up or down. I don't think that that's something that should guide what we do today, because I think that we should be flexible, because the reality is that what we're dealing with is flexible. Sites is certainly flexible at this point in time, and Delta Conveyance is even more flexible. And so I think as we move along and we see how they move, how they grow, how they don't grow, then we can respond accordingly, because as has been very clearly pointed out, we do this every year. And so it's very easy for us to change gears and change directions if we need to, as we get additional future information. So I really feel that I have no problem whatsoever with going. I just think that we have an obligation, because of the fact that we are sitting on so many millions of dollars that has been received from our constituents. I think it behooves us to do whatever we can to make sure that amount does not increase in any way, and that amount is adjusted as we move forward, so that we are not putting ourselves into a situation where we're going to have huge interest rates that we're going to pay, because the fathers of this organization said that that's not what we should do. But the reality is that we have a lot of funds to deal with right now, and I don't think that it's appropriate for us to add to that at all. And I think that we should take an action at least temporarily for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on what happens with sites, what happens with Delta Conveyance. I think we should lower this rate to as low as we can. And I think it should be 4 cents per 100.
Through the chair.
Pardon?
Through the chair.
Yes, Jose.
So I would like to add to, like, I think some of my colleagues have said, I know that the graphs are presenting 5-10 year horizons, but I think we need to really look at, we're assessing it today, and we're looking at the reserve that we have. If I look at the horizon, I see that for the next 5 years, we'll still be within the target levels that are set by the policy. So that's where I'm comfortable. And I would be comfortable to make a motion to lower it to 0.04% out of 100 assessed value.
Okay. Thank you. Is there, I really wasn't finished with my comments, but I
apologize.
I'm glad you're eager.
We wanted to keep you out of trouble, Milford.
Oh, was I gonna?
Yeah. So we're good.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, is there a second?
I just seconded it.
Okay, fine. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Director Longville.
I'll support the majority position and agree on 4%.
Vice President Mateo.
Yes.
Director Keelhold.
Yes.
Director Velasquez.
Yes.
And President Harrison.
Yes.
The motion carries. The ad valorem property tax rate has been set to 4 cents, and resolution number 1205 is approved.
Thank you. Thank you for all your input from all of our staff, from our associates, both online and in the room. We really appreciate. I think all of you have made a very valiant effort in achieving a balance here and giving good direction for us as we move ahead. And hopefully this will be a pleasant surprise to our taxpayers. They're definitely going to have a lowering of their tax bill relative to us next year. So, or this
Mr.
year.
President, if you would just allow me, I want to say a word of sincere appreciation to our staff who's sitting at this table, also support staff who gathered a lot of the information. We started months ago collecting information, looking through all the old policies and documents and trying to understand our history. Also, a huge word of thanks to our legal counsel and ERA Economics. This was not done in a short period of time. It was countless meetings. Cindy probably updated the data 100 different times. So I just want to say thank you to all of the people who worked on that. It feels like, this was a big occasion to be able to have this amount of robust information presented to the board this year. And we will continue to bring this sort of information to you in the following years. But this was definitely a team effort, and I want to commend all the people who worked on it. And thank you so much.
Thank you. There is no doubt about the fact that the work that's been done by our legal counsel and by our accounting firm and by Cindy and you, Heather, and every one of our staff lays a new groundwork for moving ahead. This is a whole new ball game, basically, when compared to what we've done for the last 8 years that I've been here. This is a huge step forward, and I just thank you for pushing this through and moving us into this type of analysis and this type of information. And thank you so much to all of you.
To the chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just wanted to make, for the record, I wanted to make sure that we didn't lose sight of this fact and thank you, Miguel, for being here today, because the ratepayers, the legacy homeowners in San Bernardino in Division 1 for many years have paid the lion's share of the taxes that have built these reserves. And today, this board, together, we voted to give them a break. So thank you, sir, for being here.
Great. Any other comments? All right. Well, then we'll move ahead with the rest of our agenda. Thanking everyone. You're welcome to stay, but but it gets a little boring from here on out. Thank you, Miguel. Oh, the mayor's here. I didn't see the mayor. Hi, Mayor. Let's see him. All right, let's move into item 4, our director's report. Paul? If you'll go ahead.
I attended the San Bernardino Pass Water Agency meeting last night. It was a very interesting meeting. They had a information item presented regarding data centers and the impact to communities. The item was controversial to the community. I don't know that the community really appreciated how little the state water contractor has to do with data centers. But it was entertaining for several hours. Other than that, they just had routine water reports. They're following up on what they are what their staff is doing to educate their board about the State Water Project, Central Valley Project, et cetera. And that's my report.
Thank you. Jose.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, I attended the Special Districts Dinner, July 20th, hosted by East Valley Water District and Michael Moore at the Sterling Natural Resource Center. And the topic was mapping the future through GIS. So it was a good presentation there, and I enjoyed it. And other than that, it was just San Bernardino Valley meetings.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I had a special districts board meeting a week ago yesterday, and then I also attended the dinner yesterday. And I don't know what else I have to report because I went off and left my calendar at home. So I will catch up on that if next time I report and make sure. Gil.
Thanks, sir. Since our last meeting on 7/15, I attended the San Bernardino Council meeting on, 7/15, 7/16, the West Valley Board meeting. We presented them with a significant check. That was a great meeting. And on yesterday, also, I attended this special district meeting. Thank you, sir.
All right. Susan.
The only district meeting that I attended was I was asked and honored to come in and make my comments for a history video that the district is producing on July 8th. That's the only thing I have.
All right. Thank you. We'll move right on to our general counsel's report.
No report today, Mr. President.
Okay. SAPA meeting report.
Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Yes.
Botel.
Today, July 21st, we had our regular meeting of the SAPA Commission, and the SAPA Commission authorized the general manager to execute task order West 374-04 with West Yost for development of the ambient water quality database and consolidation of groundwater quality data through 2026 in the amount not to exceed $147,543. The commission also authorized the general manager to execute a task order West 374-05 with West Yost again for completion of the Santa Ana River Reach 3 total dissolved solids special study in the amount not to exceed $197 and $494. And then the commission received a update on the SAPA strategic plan development. Thank you, sir.
I've just add to that we also heard a report from our staff relative to a major break in the brine line that occurred down in the Temecula area. And a contractor, there was a couple of mistakes made and the contractor broke into the line. It was the staff worked all night on that and repaired it. And most of the what was in the brine line was collected and almost all of it has been hauled away. But Eastern is back online. They were off for just a few hours. And next we have our water delivery report.
Thank you, President Harrison. Good afternoon, members of the board.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. For the month of June, State Water Project delivered just over 3,300 acre feet, bringing us to almost 11,000 acre feet year to date. Baseline feeder wells produced 636 acre feet, bringing us to 2,332 acre feet year to date. And the Santa Ana River diversions are still within our water right. We diverted 1,361 acre feet, bringing us to 7,878 acre feet year to date just this year so far. For the Northern Sierra Precip Index, the 8-station index has measured an average of 50.8 inches of precip, which is 2.4 inches below the average. And for local precip, The three-station index, these are both as of July 19th and July 20th. The three-station index has measured an average of 35.32 inches of precip. So locally, we are at 4.26 inches above average. So a little bit better precip right here in our area. For direct deliveries, year to date, as of June, we have delivered 8,806 acre feet, bringing us to 28% of our operating plan, which is a little low for this time of year, but we are hoping for those orders to be called in now that it's getting warmer. For recharge deliveries, this is primarily or mostly for San Bernardino. For the Sterling Natural Resources Center agreement, we have delivered 2,147 acre feet, bringing us to 72% of that 3,000. And water resources staff and operations staff have had very positive discussions with DWR regarding some metering discrepancies we noticed in 2025 and moving into 2026. SBV and DWR teams are coordinating for a net positive resolution. The conversations have been very productive, very positive, and we're hoping for a resolution shortly. And then water resources and operations staff are reevaluating the operating plan for recharge. We have some new water sources that are coming up that should be available that we could be able to recharge. And then if that DWR decision and resolution comes before the end of the year, we will have more carryover water to deliver as well. And then we're also monitoring the reservoir levels to ensure that we could move water if we needed to, should climate conditions change. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Sarah? Hearing none, seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Next is our general manager's report. You didn't have much to say today. I want to give you a chance now.
Low pressure. Okay, let's see. First up, some exciting news. I know it looks like floating leaves, but those are actually larval native fish that you can see on the right-hand side there. On the left is a photo of Anza Creek that we restored. And Joanna, I think, and Kai gave a presentation some months ago on that creek. Once it was connected to the Santa Ana River, we did have native fishes moving up into that stream, and we do have evidence of spawning happening. So the great news about that is that, one, a lot of effort was put forth on behalf of a lot of different groups. The first off, this was part of our SARCUP Prop 84 grant in conjunction with our SAPA member agency partners. This was done in support of the Habitat Conservation Plan. And as you remember, whenever you reduce flow in the main stem of the Santa Ana River, you need to provide similar type and amount of habitat elsewhere. And so we restored this stream so that the native fish could move up into these what's called refugia habitats, and that they could do some feeding, spawning, growing, and hopefully increase their survival. So the project so far has been successful. This is actually one of the first times that I know of that we've seen spawning so far downstream in the Santa Ana River, which is primarily because this is cold upwelling water that feeds this stream. And this is great, clear water that has a lot of algae growth and food resources. So this is proof that it works, which is great when it comes to our permit compliance for all the different water projects included in the Santa Ana River Habitat Conservation Plan, including projects that have already been built, Sterling Natural Resource Center, San Bernardino's Recycled Water Project, and some other things. So that was great news that we got from the biologists.
That's great to see.
I know. You can all see them, right?
Wow.
Okay, good. The first time I saw it, I was like, are you sure that's a fish? But I can see it now on the big screen.
Yep.
Also exciting news, when I first started in California in 2010, working on the Santa Ana River, there was only 2 publications, wasn't even peer reviewed in journal articles of river regarding the condition of the Santa Ana River. So we want to celebrate this new article that was done by our friends over at UC Riverside. Gary Kinn and Kurt Anderson is a professor there. You may have met Gary a couple times. He came and gave presentations on this work. Helen Regan leads this effort of watershed index measurement all across the world, Australia, China, some European countries, and our very own Santa Ana River. Kai Palanskar of our staff was listed as a co-author. It is very arduous to get a peer-reviewed journal article published, so we're very proud and happy for Gary. And we like the spotlight that's been put on the Santa Ana River in terms of the value, the ecosystem services that it provides to our region, along with some of the challenges that we have related to ecosystem condition and all the different pressures on this urban stream, the largest in Southern California, flood control, water supply, recreation, all of these different types of things. So I'm really happy for Gary and wanted to celebrate Gary and his co-authors.
That's great.
As Director Longville mentioned, she was featured in a video recording. She was asked by the City of San Bernardino Municipal Water Department to be part of their history video that they will be showing at an upcoming event. And so this is just a picture of that recording. I was also interviewed. It was a great historical look at our relationship over time, some of the challenges that we've made our way through, some of the victories that we've been able to accomplish together, and just celebrating that agency and the work that they've put forth over decades and decades and decades in this watershed. So we were happy to be part of that. As mentioned by Vice President Botello, we were able to provide a demand management incentive check for $160,000 to the West Valley Water District. They have come up with some really creative, great projects that will reduce water use within their service area, and they've managed to find ways that they can stretch that money through turf removal and Rosina Ranch project, et cetera. So we're happy to continue that by presenting that demand management again this year. I recently spoke at the Aqua Region 9 event down in Temecula. I served on a panel with Dan Denham. If you're familiar with him, he's the GM of the San Diego Water Authority, who's doing really creative exchanges and water deals with Western Municipal, Eastern Municipal, and hopefully eventually some of the Southwest states. So we talked about leadership as a component of water planning and water infrastructure. And so that was a really robust discussion that we enjoyed talking about. How the gentleman on the far left is named Ed Manning. He's actually the one who conceived of SB 72 and how to actually get that passed. He's got decades of lobbying experience. And so he told the story about how you keep on going even when the governor vetoes it the first time around. And then we shared a lot of leadership experience related to trying to get water projects done. So that was last week. And with that, that concludes my general manager's report. I do want to just really quickly mention that Greg Woodside will be representing our interests on the East Coast for the National Water Supply Alliance meeting. We are part of this organization that, as I've stated before, is very influential in how the Corps of Engineers thinks about water supply as part of their mission. So he will be attending that annual meeting. And we are looking at, they are looking at trying to formally get the Corps of Engineers to adopt water conservation and water supply as part of their mission, which will be a huge accomplishment. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And so we will cheer you on from afar. And that is a wrap for me, sir.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? All right, hearing none. Announcements, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Deputy General Manager.
Mr. President, members of the board, as we conclude the month of July, just highlighting an item for tomorrow, we will be hosting the SABA Strategic Plan Community Meeting that's scheduled to kick off at 4:00, and that wraps up the month of July. And heading into August, we have all regularly scheduled meetings, and also adding to that, we do have the Building Industry Association's Southern California Water Conference that will be held in Ontario. That's taking place on August 14th. Pending any questions from the board, that's all we got for announcements.
Okay. I'll just, since we're talking about announcements, I'll just say that I will not be present in person on August 4 at the regular board meeting. So our vice president will chair the meeting, but I will attend by Zoom. I'll be at the FARO conference. So, all right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions about the announcements? Then, are there any future business? Anyone? Hearing none? Then we'll ask, we do have a closed session scheduled today, and we'll ask our attorney to announce that and take us into closed session.
Yes, Mr. President, we'll be going into closed session today for significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision D of the Government Code, section 54956.9, to discuss one potential case. It should be brief.
Thank you. We'll be back after a while.
All right, ready?
Are we back, Tony?
Wait a minute, there we go. Our legal counsel will report what happened in our closed session.
Thank you, Mr. President. In closed session, the board voted unanimously to reject the tort claim of Stella Kenny and direct general counsel to issue the rejection letter. That is all.
Thank you very much. There being no further items on our agenda, we are adjourned. And thank you all again.